China is a country that never misses a chance to criticize the US military, but this time a non-US aircraft annoyed the Chinese officials. It was back in 2015 when an intense war game in Thailand pitted Chinese and Thai air forces, and what happened in the skies revealed many of the Chinese pilots and fighter planes' vulnerabilities. The Chinese brought Shenyang J-11 twin-engine jet fighters with them for this war game, which is based on the Soviet-designed Sukhoi Su-27. The Thai Air Force chose to deploy JAS-39 Gripen fighters, which are single-engine multirole aircraft produced by the Swedish aerospace company Saab AB. Soon we are dropping a detailed video on these aircraft, so please. During the war games, everyone observed that the J-11 was considered the superior dogfighter, but the Gripen was deemed the more formidable long-range shooter. According to the aviation report, the Gripen fared better in the BVR arena, with 24% of the kills at a range beyond 50 kilometers. BVR is beyond visual range combat, is a kind of aerial warfare that is fought at a range the pilot can see his enemy with his own eyes, which means that pilot must track the enemy using its radar or other long-range detection systems. Furthermore, during the war games, officials noticed the Chinese pilots had poor situational awareness. Chinese pilots are too much focused on the front of the aircraft rather than all around. There was also a lack of coordination between the attacking aircraft and its sweeper escorts. The escort fighter was a fighter aircraft concept designed to escort bombers to and from their targets. A long enough range was required for an escort fighter to reach the target, loiter over it for the duration of the raid to defend the bombers, and return. Also, the Chinese pilots were not experienced in avoiding missile shots. Their responses were too mechanical and could not judge correctly on the evasive techniques for missiles with different ranges. As for the large-scale aerial showdowns, the Thais were able to score kills while playing the attacker by taking down the Chinese defenders. When the Chinese attacked, they had difficulty in passing the Thai defenders. The only success for the Chinese when attacking is when they were protected by the Gripen, which was a low-level attack. In 2 versus 2 scenarios, the Chinese found that they are poor in judging the threat and the evasive actions were insufficient. The fire control and weapons integration for the J-11 is still behind the Saab Gripen. Despite excelling on the dogfighting front, the Chinese still picked up important lessons from the Thais. They found that when dealing with Thai attacks using the sun as cover, the strategy of the Chinese is simplified. When in an advantageous position, the Chinese were in a rush to score a victory and fell into traps put up by the Thais. When in an advantageous position, the Chinese were in a rush to score a victory and fell into traps put up by the Thais. When the final results were tallied, the Thai Air Force scored a major victory, with the Gripen shooting down 42 J-11s and the Chinese side making 34 kills. Moreover, nearly 90% of the Thai Air Force's successful kills occurred at a range of at least 19 miles, while the Chinese nabbed just 14% of their kills within the same range. This war game quickly became a hot topic, and everyone began to question China. Numerous professional articles and speeches by high-ranking Chinese officers indicate that the Chinese Air Force believes its previous training practices properly prepared its pilots and other personnel for actual combat. Furthermore, the Chinese military recognizes that there is a skill gap between its pilots and those in powerful nations' air forces. To cover up their training flaws, a former Air Force commander stated that when the Air Force trains, it must train for battle rather than doing things for show-off in war games.